2 seconds. Now, anything you say now is being recorded. Okay, you guys, we are live, just to let you know. Well, just because you might not want what you're saying aired forever. Sorry, we are late. We were having technical difficulties.
We still are.
And we still are. Okay. Anyway, their speaker tonight is going to be Cyndi Milano. She brought her daughter, Marissa.
I brought my daughter because we have this provider that didn't show up.
Yeah.
That's
Another no-show.
right?
Which is another reason I hate parents as providers being the last resource.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. I had to say that. You know, we can't depend on other providers other than us. You can't depend on anybody but yourself.
Right now.
You know, just cannot depend on people. So, hi, Kathy. This is my friend Kathy. Say hi, Kathy. What's his brother? Kathy recently broke her wrist. Is it healing good?
Yeah, as well as it can.
Okay. So, anything exciting in your life? No, she doesn't want to be seen. That's my friend. I won't even give you her name. Tyler, do you want to be on there?
No, I'm good.
I won't say Tyler's name though. Terry, you want to be on? No. Okay, nobody wants to be on here.
Okay, so we can probably. Hi. Hi.
Hey, my cousin came. Yay.
Hi.
I had to say that. We didn't know we were
Can you
cousins
hear
till
me
last
now?
year.
Or no?
Have a seat, have a seat. Oh, help yourself.
Here's how I go full view.
So. Do you want to be in charge of the light switch there? So if you push it over, you can flip up the light and flip it on or whatever? So. Anything happening in Stark County? Nope.
Although I will probably,
Okay. We are going to have somebody on Zoom or on Facebook
On a team meeting.
team meeting.
So
That's going
her
to be
name,
Georgia.
yeah, I can introduce everybody to her now that my big computer is working. I don't know.
Now, can she see us or we will see her?
She'll be able to see you guys, right? Right, Deb? You can see them?
yep,
Yep.
I can, hello.
Hello.
But they can't see your face because I can't figure out how to get that top line. There you are. There's your pretty face.
The little thing up there, look,
Well, it's
it
kind of,
should be big.
hold on, I need to get it in a different position. You know, I'm not in my usual spot, I'm in a hotel.
You guys want to sit that in so you can see her? She's going to talk too. She's a nurse trainer too. Do you want to sit there? That way you can see? Yeah, wait, that way you can see everybody.
So I just want to introduce myself and my colleague Deb Malloy. Deb Malloy is an RN instructor for DODD. She also is the president of GDNA, correct, Deb? Am I right?
Yep,
Of Ohio, the Developmental Disability Nurse Association of Ohio. She was my boss lady for a long time, and we kind of hang out together and bounce ideas off of one another. So I appreciate you being here, Deb.
thank you, glad to be here to help.
My name is Cyndi Milano. Deb Malloy is also a registered nurse. She also works for Tarrytown Pharmacy. I think that's located in Ohio, right, Deb?
No, it's out of state, but we have about 10 different pharmacies. We only serve the IDD and behavioral health populations.
So if anybody would like information on Tarrytown Pharmacy, let me know and I can give you some information on that.
Are there what is it? Durable medical equipment? They do delivery for medical supplies or what do they do?
That would be a question for them.
A supply thing. So is that like a supply company? We give you our prescriptions and your whatever store sends our supplies to us, like our pads and our colostomy supplies and stuff?
I'm sorry, it's a little garbled. Are you asking if we do medical supplies and
Yeah.
those type of things? Like, and kind of said, we don't. We only
Okay.
focus on the pharmacy piece. There's other companies that I have connected with that other agencies have used that does supply those items.
Okay.
Okay, so we're here tonight to talk about discuss family delegation for medication administration and health-related activities in the DODD setting. We're also going to discuss Ohio Revised Code 5123.47 as it applies to family delegation in the DODD setting. And then we'll talk about some of the requirements for the documentation that we need for family delegation. But I didn't tell you who I am. Cyndi Milano. I'm Cyndi Milano. I'm a registered.
You did.
I did? Okay.
You did.
I'm also an
Yes, she did.
DODD RN trainer for this for Ohio.
She's the one when somebody sends me a medical question, I said, that's a Cindy question. And I tag her a lot.
I'm also an independent provider, and I do provide services to my developmentally disabled daughter. So when I say I get it and understand, I want to let you guys know I get it and I understand. Marissa's making a cameo appearance tonight. Marissa's with me tonight because of an aide not showing up today. So, right?
Trials and tribulations.
Yeah, but we're all in it together, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about medication administration to our individuals in the DD setting, we first have to kind of find out what their assessment or their self-med assessment is. What assistance do they need with their medications? Can they take their medications on their own? Do they need some assistance with just opening the container? Do they need assistance with full administration of their meds? You'll find that in the self-med assessment. Your essays should be supplying that to you or going over that with you at some point in time. If your individual requires assistance, if you are a family member, and a family member is somebody who must be living with the individual in the home. They can include parents, siblings, spouses, sons, daughters, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, or guardians of the individual with developmental disabilities. A family member has to be the primary supervisor of care, and a family member may not need to be med certified if living with the individual. They will fall under the family delegation rules.
If they're living with the individual.
They have to be living with the individual per the rules.
Yeah, and Cindy, just as a FYI, guys, I had this situation a number of years ago. It was a family that actually lived next door, and that didn't apply to that because they weren't in the same household.
So they have to be living in the same household in order to fall under the family delegation rule. When we're administering any medications, I want to remind you that anybody can remind a person to take a medication. Anybody can observe to assure that directions on a medication container are followed. Anybody can remove medication from and return to storage. Anyone can open the container if a person is unable to. Anyone can assist the person to remove medication from a container. And at the direction of a person who is cognitively able but physically unable, physically assist the person to get medication from the container and to take it or apply it. To provide this type of assistance, personnel do not need medication administration assistance. Okay? When we get into family delegation, again, it's if you are a family member living with your individual. Whenever an individual resides with a family member, the family member is authorized to administer medications without having medication administration certification. Family members who live with an individual and are providing Ohio Shared Living as an independent provider or through an agency are authorized to administer medications as a family member and do not need to have medication administration certification or nurse delegation. A shared living provider delivering a paid service, the provider does not need to document the medications administered each day, or they do need to document the medications administered each day. This can be done on a MAR, printout from the pharmacy, or by any other suitable method, such as on a service delivery documentation sheet. family members who live with an individual and are providing HPC as an independent provider or through an agency are authorized to administer medication as a family member and do not need to have medication administration certification or nurse delegation. As I think we already went that. So a family member who lives with an individual and are providing HBC, they are authorized to administer any medications as a family member and do not need to have medication administration, certification, or nurse delegation. As a provider delivering a paid service, the provider does need to document the medications administered each day. This can be done on a MAR, a printout from the pharmacy, or by any other suitable method such as a service delivery documentation sheet.
How detailed does that need to be?
What the medications are. That medication, and so the DODD website offers a wonderful sample MAR documentation that you can actually print or type it on a computer and then have it print off. So the DODD, and I'll talk about that when we talk about requirements and how to access those that paperwork, that MAR. You can also have a printout from the pharmacy. The pharmacy might give you a printout that'll have the check marks. You can put a check mark, you can put an F, you can put your initials. It just demonstrates that the medication was administered.
Same thing for changing a coffee bag, should we marking that?
With a check mark, an F for family, or your initials. Just so that there's some sort of documentation that it was completed. Colostomy bag is a health-related activity, which is part of medication administration, the health-related activities. Okay? Any questions?
Yeah, I got a lot of questions.
Oh, okay.
The agency I work for, I'm a mental health provider for my daughter.
Yeah.
I just check one box a day. It says provided medications as prescribed, and that's it. They don't have me do anything else. It's just there's a checkbox that says provide medications as prescribed, and I don't have to check off that I did medical health related activities either. So I'm a little confused.
So, I don't know, I'm confused. Did you hear that one, Deb?
Did she say that she has one check mark that she signs off for all the meds for one day?
Yes.
Yes, but there's no list of the medicines or anything like that.
Well, they're in the ISP, aren't
No.
Yeah, Cindy, I've not ran into that before. One of the things that it talks about or is a suitable method. So
Right.
that suitable method, what county are you in?
I'm in Stark County.
In Stark?
Yes, and I work
Yeah,
for
I
an
don't know if they have a different process. That could be, but that's something that we could check on, Cindy, to see. Because I've not had that question before. I mean, because when I think MAR, I think of each medication is listed and I'm checking off each medication versus one box for multiple meds. I haven't had that question before.
So, and your family member to your
Yes,
individual?
yes,
So your
I'm the
family
mom.
member, with who lives with your
Yes.
individual and you're getting paid by an agency. So I think that it may even fall under service delivery documentation sheet. But we can get back with you and make sure.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. If there's something in addition I need to do, please let me know.
Well, I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did you have other questions?
No, that was my question. I was like, any of this stuff is new to me. So.
When a family member does not live with the individual and is a paid provider and works for an agency, that family member must have medication administration certification. So if they don't live with the individual and they're working for they're a family member, but they don't live with the individual and they're paid by an agency, they have to have medication administration certification. Any questions? A family member who does not live with an individual is a paid provider and is an independent provider may receive delegation from the family who does live with the individual or must have a medication administration certification and or nurse delegation as applicable to provide medications for any treatments.
So they have to be certified.
a family member who does not live with the individual, they, they're a paid provider, and is an independent provider, may receive delegation from the family who does not live with the individual, or they must have a medication administration certification. So if they're a family member, they're coming in, they don't live with the individual, they're getting paid by agency, they can have,
What if an IP?
Yeah, it's an IP.
yeah,
If they're
But
an
either way.
independent provider, it's kind of, I always explain that one, that it's kind of like, as a parent, that you are getting a babysitter for Saturday night for your kids. As if they're an independent provider. But if you're with an agency, not living with the individual, that does require certification.
right.
Okay, say my daughter comes over for the evening and gives him his meds. She does not have to be certified, or does she have to be certified? Because she doesn't actually live there. She is coming over for a couple hours.
You can family delegate that,
I can family
because
delegate.
she's an independent provider.
Okay.
You
So
can
this
family-
is strictly agency then. Okay.
So what if family come over and administer meds that are not an independent provider?
If they're with an agency that she's saying they have to be
If
certified.
if they're paid, yeah, are they a paid provider?
No.
They're not being paid, so,
So would it be natural support?
mhm.
Okay.
Right, that,
Hey, I didn't hear the question, Cindy.
so the question was, if her daughter comes to the house, she's not an agency provider, and she's not an independent provider,
She's not
and
getting paid, period.
administers medications to her son, that's just natural supports then.
Yeah, she's not getting paid for the service, so it doesn't matter. Correct.
Okay. Let me move over. I wanna talk a little
It's
bit.
once you start getting paid that's where it starts creating, where you gotta comply with the rules and the regulations with it.
Okay, so let's talk about, let's make this go. Let's talk about, maybe not, about what delegation is.
Do you guys want me to turn this light off so you can see that, or leave it on?
Whatever anybody wants.
Did I talk about it?
I think it should be better if it's off so we can see what she's. Oh, yeah.
That's really, but now Deb can't see us.
Oh.
Oh, it's okay. I might, my connection is okay, but if it starts getting.
It looks like I can see you on the.
I'm gonna shut my video off, so it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
I wanted to
It's showing up on my Facebook, so that's okay.
talk a little bit about what delegation is. Delegation is the transferring of authority to perform a specified nursing task or activity in a selected situation to a specific unlicensed person. The delegator is a delegating nurse, or in this instance, a family member who provides the delegation, and the delegatee is the person who receives authority to perform the task or medication administration from the delegating nurse, or the family member. I'm sorry. Per ORC 5123.47, some of the requirements for family delegation include having a prescription from a physician. That could be in written form. And then the requirement also requires you to have a family delegation form written out, giving you the authority to transfer it to the individual that's coming into your house. So under, I'm sorry, I forget your name.
My name's Tam.
Okay, Tabitha. With you work for an agency,
Yeah.
but you fall under family delegation because you're OSL. So you would need a family delegation form, and you would just fill out your name on it. That would come from your essay.
Okay.
Are you OSL or did you switch over to HPC?
What I'm going to. We haven't done it yet. We're going
Okay.
to
You
become
switching?
independents. We're going to become
Okay.
independents at some
What
point.
about if you're
Because I-
HPC?
Yeah. So does that apply too if you're HPC instead of OSL or both?
Yeah, it still applies under HPC.
Okay.
So what do you need?
Cindy was the one that you mentioned, I think you said Tabitha, she's with an agency, is she a family member or no?
Yes, I'm mom.
Yes, she's a family
Okay.
member.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
So we need a family delegation form. Who did you say we could
your
have?
essay, and they print it off from the county. Each county has their own family delegation forms. They're not available on the DODD site.
Okay,
So
so,
your essay would provide that to you.
okay, and I just put my name on it?
It's a form, and what the form says, it says that you're giving the authority, or the transferring the authority for you to give medications to your individual. And what those forms do is take the liability off of DODD, and now you carry the liability.
Is that the form you sent me the other day?
Could be, I'm not sure. I don't remember what
We
I
were
said.
talking about.
But I have his ISP in 2 weeks, so
Yeah,
I can ask
your
for
essays
that.
will have it. And I sent it to you a billion years ago. Like 2 years ago,
So
I
it's
sent it
probably
to you.
still in my,
Yeah,
somewhere.
it might be in the files under Becky's room. It might be in the
In my
files too. A sample one from Cuyahoga County, what it looks like in Cuyahoga County.
I can send you
And it-
her email later because she's on Facebook,
Okay.
so.
Also with the requirements are individual specific training. On that form, that family delegation form, you're gonna write out, this is Eric. Can I use him as an example? Do you mind? This is Eric. Eric has a colostomy bag. Eric would like to have his colostomy bag changed at 5:30 every evening before his shower. Eric might be upset about having to have colostomy bag change time. Eric may have some arguments, but this is the process that we go through to change the bag, and you talk about the individual steps you take to change Eric's bag. So in the event that something happens, you have it all documented down, so everybody understands what they're looking at, okay? And then, so that's a requirement too. You have to have individual specific training that documents what's happening with your person, okay?
So all that's already documented and just check it off for step.
So you'll document that yourself. Your essay is not gonna document it. You're gonna create that form under family delegation. They're gonna give you a family delegation form, and the family delegation form is gonna have a section in it that says describe what activity that you're gonna be doing.
Oh, wow.
I had to do that for the day program, step by step, how to change his coffee bag. And then I also went in and I trained everybody how to change his coffee bag.
So for example, if you're just giving medications,
This is about 10 pages a day.
no, it's just a one time.
Oh,
It's
so
a
I
one
don't need
time
to write
form.
down stuff about seizures
No.
or
You-
her POTS episodes or all of her different medical stuff she has in a day. I'm not supposed to write stuff down like that. Or you do need to check that.
You would be writing down, the person's gonna be administering medications,
So
right?
just meds.
Meds,
Okay.
any of the health related activities that you'll be doing. Or, if they have seizures, you're gonna document, you're gonna type out, what's that seizure look like? Because you
Okay.
have to train, if you're giving seizure medications to your individual, you have to explain to the person, to someone, what's that look like? What's a seizure look like,
Okay.
right? So you would just put that on the form.
Okay.
And that would include too anything that triggers it. Is there an aura that you can tell with that the seizure's coming on? Does the individual sense something, hear something? All that information to help others understand to be able to manage that as really what's needed.
Okay.
Okay,
So all of that would be in one form then?
correct.
And then do you check it off when
No,
you-
ma'am. No,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am, just one time,
Okay.
just one form. Then, the state is requiring, per 5123 that you have to document that you have administered any medications or, health-related activities. And that, like we already said, could be on a MAR, a pharmacy MAR, or any, what does it say specific? Any other suitable method, such as on a service delivery documentation sheet. So that, whatever will work for you specifically.
So I have a question. If I become, I'm currently not a provider, just an entrance board.
Yeah.
If I become a provider, we're both separate delegation sheets, but with the same information, or would we be under one?
One.
Well, then I have a question. I'm not getting paid for anything that has to do with his medication. That I'm aware
Are
of.
you a daily rate?
Do what?
Are you a daily rate or is he rate?
I'm HPC.
Okay.
And it's not listed as, right now, we've got him listed as administering his own medication.
Okay.
So at this point, do I need to do any of this documentation?
I don't believe so.
They used
Because I haven't.
I wasn't sure what the question was, Cindy.
The question was, right now on his ISP, he is documented as giving his own medication. He puts them in a pill box that are daily, morning and evening pills out of the prescription bottles, and then he administers them at a certain time during the day.
And he takes them on his own?
He does, yes.
Okay.
So-
So his self-administration form would have indicated that he's able to self-administer.
The
Yes.
what?
The self-administration form would indicate that he is able to self-administer his own medication.
So there's a self-administration form?
your SSA.
Your SSA will have that.
Okay.
Really?
Was there, I thought there was a question, was there something about delegation in regard to that early on, or was that a separate?
Well, I said I'm not paid to, as an IP, to give him the medication. That's not one of our listed things. So,
Okay.
So if you're doing HPC and your individual self-administers their own meds, there needs to be a self-administer.
Everyone who has an ISP and takes any medications will have a self-administration assessment completed
Right,
by the SA.
right.
and it may be
Or
part of
someone-
his ISP.
It'll also be listed on the ISP. There's a
Because
section.
that's what I said, I know all of his medications are listed in the ISP.
But that's not what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Is there a mark for self-administering, like, if he would self-administer his meds, even though he's taking them himself?
No.
No, okay.
You don't need an MAR for somebody that self-administers.
Okay,
Just clarifying that.
just making sure.
Because you never know, right?
Yeah, you could.
I started having a heart attack with
Yeah,
all
me
these
too.
forms. I'm like,
Okay, so under ORC 5123, in-home care means the supportive services provided within the home of an individual with developmental disabilities. And in-home care includes care that is provided outside an individual's home in places incidental to the home and while traveling to places incidental to the home. In-home care is not for county board facilities or school. So family delegation follows in-home care and incidentals. So if, for example, Becky had asked me the question, if she were to go out, were to be hospitalized, can she and Eric has to go somewhere, can she do family delegation for his medication administration and his colostomy? And the answer is yes, because that's not planned, it's an incidental. Incidental is something that happens right now. It's not something that's planned. So for example, respite services. If you're planning on sending your individual to a in-home respite outside of your home, you cannot family delegate to that respite provider. That respite provider would have to have medication administration certification.
So basically, if I'm planning on going away and leaving Eric somewhere for a week and it's planned, I'd have to get somebody that's certified in meds.
Correct, if they're gonna administer any of the medication.
And they would have to have Med 2 for colostomy?
No, med one.
Med 1 does it?
Yeah,
Okay.
med one.
Okay, but if somebody's doing it as a natural support, then that's okay?
That's okay.
Okay. Like right now, she's with her grandma, so if grandma gives medicine, that's okay.
That's natural support.
Okay.
Any questions? No? Okay. Let me see if I can make it back over there. I thought that was funny. Huh, Melissa? I think we got all the points. If you're working as an agency provider, if the family does not live with the individual and paid by an agency provider, they must have medication administration certification. A family member does not have the authority to delegate medication administration responsibilities to agency staff who do not live with the individual. And then also, if you're working for an agency and there's a task that requires nursing delegation, it may require nursing delegation as applicable. Any questions? Independent providers, you have to follow, our family members who are living with the individual may delegate to an independent provider without medication certification, and they must follow the family delegation rule, ORC 5123.47. So for example, I'm an independent provider. I have 2 other independent providers that work for me, or work for, rather, Marissa. I am able to family delegate to them. So we use the family delegation form, and I delegate under family delegation. I transfer that over to them, oral medications, oral and inhaled medications to them. So we document that form, and it needs to be updated annually.
Is that something that we should keep on file anyway? Even if I'm not doing that at this point in time? If I need to at some point in the future, should I have that form?
If you're gonna go over to family delegation, your SA will add that to your ISP,
Okay.
and then it will provide that family delegation form to you. So there's no reason to have it unless you're doing the family delegation.
Now, if the person's
Well, my,
oh god,
I'm sorry, my brother lives with us.
Okay.
So should that be done so that if I'm not there, he can do that?
Is he a natural support or is he a paid provider?
He's a natural support. Oh, no, okay.
Wasn't there
That's where it
something
gets confusing.
that even though you delegated it, the family member has to be present for the provider to be able to do it? No. So that came up on something.
Right. So when I have my providers at the house,
Mhm.
I can leave, and they have a MAR, they follow the MAR, they check the medications, they've been trained on the medications, and they've been trained on her diagnosis.
Okay.
So they know what to do when I'm gone.
does the family delegation rule only apply if the person doesn't have a med cert? Because Cheyenne has had like 11 different providers in my house, and I have never once been asked to fill out that form.
So you're an agent,
No, like before I did shared living with her.
right,
So I had independents and agency providers coming in my house to take care of her. They never had me fill out a form about her meds. They just said to tell the provider what meds she's on and they'll give them to her. So I'm a little confused about this. So, but they all had med certs. So do you
yeah, so
not-
that's okay.
so that was okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's hot in here. It's hot in here.
Yeah, I closed the door because they were singing or something.
As an RN trainer, and I'm, yes ma'am.
I have a provider that comes to my house like once a week, and she's a respite, does respite, so she gives the medication when I'm right there, you know.
Okay.
So does she need to have?
You would have to have family delegation for her.
Okay, so
We
we have a list like of everything.
You'd have to have the family delegation form filled out, right?
So
Because,
she needs to check off every time
Yes.
she gives the medication.
yes,
So we're gonna like create the form ourselves?
So
Because I
either
don't have a form.
So I'm gonna show you a DODD form, how to access they have a lot. And you can fill out the MAR. It's a sample MAR, medication administration record. You can fill that out yourself. You can print it off and fill it out, write it in, the medications.
Okay, and since I live with the individual, I don't need to have this for myself.
The state is now requiring for you to do some sort of documentation. Because you're the provider and you're the provider. The state requires that you document that the medications were given. Okay, so it says, a shared living provider delivering a paid service, the provider does need to document the medication administration each day. This can be done on an MAR printout from the pharmacy or by any other suitable method, such as on a service delivery documentation sheet. Okay? So, as an RN trainer, and Deb might want to jump in on this too, as an RN instructor, we always recommend that anybody who's working with DD individuals, that they become med certified. You can look through for any medication administration classes through the dodd.ohio.gov website by clicking the medication administration page and then going to current certification and search for DD training classes for your counties.
Okay, so
Are they free?
yeah,
It depends
Now.
on the county.
Portage, yes, Portage gives it free. Okay, it's on the calendar.
We
No,
don't need
we
it.
don't need it. But,
No.
but I'll say this, it was a really interesting class. It was a very good class I took. The problem is it's like a day and a half. So I put Eric in workshop for a day and a half, and then the workshop just brought him up here and dropped him off. It's at Happy Days.
Yeah, it's a 14-hour course. But it also helps you as independent providers. It also helps you what's required for your documentation as independent providers doing HPC or OSL. What the reviewers are going to be looking for in your documentation.
Now you said you could do the renewal online,
Some places offer that online, and some places
and that's just for the renewal, right?
for renewals.
Okay. You said you had to go show the skills though.
You have to do skills.
What
in
are the
person.
skills when you don't have a child that doesn't actually take medication?
So the skills follow along your med certification. It
Okay.
depends on what your trainer is, wants you to
Looking
skill
for.
check for that day.
Okay.
Right, Deb?
Yeah, it's a relevant skills. So if you're only passing oral medications, you technically only need to have a skill check on oral meds. If you're doing oral medications, eye medications, ear medications, you need to have a skill check done on each of those.
Well, what if you're doing no medication, you just want to keep your certification up?
Well, I would still do, if I was the RN trainer, I would still do at minimum the oral, and I would do probably vital signs and some of the things that are potentials that could happen, so then that way your skill check is completed, so if you need it throughout the year and you have to do it, you already had the skill check completed on it.
Do you foresee in the future them making all providers do a MedCert one?
That's a DODD question.
Yeah. We don't
I
have
mean,
the
rules
answer.
change constantly. That's why I wondered.
Yeah, we don't have the answer to that, but
Yeah.
I recommend it. It helps when it comes down to your documentation, what you're looking for, what the reviewers are looking for when it comes to documentation for.
It was a really interesting class, especially when they started talking about the diabetic stuff and, you know, how you could give them honey and all this stuff and why you should have your first aid boxes. And so it was actually a very good class.
Yeah, and Cindy, I want to add, I know, I'm not sure who's speaking, but you had mentioned the class was a day and a half, and Cindy said it's 14 hours. If you are less, that 14 hours is minimum. The class can be more, but it can never be less than 14 hours. That doesn't include break times, your lunch, dinner, whatever, meal time. And I say that because there have been classes that have been held that's less than 14 hours. and RNs have lost their trainer certification because they didn't comply with that. And when that happens, you legally are not certified.
Correct.
If you run a class that's less than 14 hours, the department will view that as you are not certified, and you will need to go back through an initial course. So I encourage everybody to understand that and make sure it is a minimum of 14 hours.
Becky, where'd you take that class at?
Here. I'm sorry, Portage County up at the DOD office.
At Portage County DD?
Yeah. I don't remember how many hours it was.
Yeah.
It was like a day and a half that we were there.
Probably was 14.
Okay.
Probably.
Probably was 14. But we just encourage
Yeah,
everybody
I know
to-
Eric was there before at workshop at 8 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. So he
Yeah.
was there an hour before the workshop actually
Yeah.
opened.
It's
So.
okay. It's okay.
That was probably Jennifer
Is,
Dipple. Does that sound right?
I'm sorry, what?
Jennifer Dipple? Is that who taught the class?
That sounds familiar. So
Yeah. How long ago was it? The last couple, 3 years?
about a year ago.
Okay, yeah, that probably would have been Jennifer. She's in Portage County.
Okay, questions?
so then is that yearly that you have to get recertified?
Yeah, and the recertification for medication administration is a 2 continuing education hour course, and that can be held in a 2-hour class or a 3-hour class, depending on the RN trainer that you have.
Okay, and then second question is, if you train for a certain set of type of medicines and then your individual is prescribed a new type of medicine that's not within the training, you have to do the whole 14 again?
No,
Or
The
can you-
training's not specific.
Okay,
But you would
It's
have to have
general.
a skill check prior to you administering that, which is what I said, you know, if you're not doing any skills, I would do a minimum of oral and eye and maybe even eardrops, because you got people who get pink eye, you get people who get ear infections, vital signs, doing temperature, pulse, blood pressure, respirations, and pulse ox in this day and age, because everybody's doing pulse oxes. Some of those basic things, but if you have a skill that, let's say that somebody's getting a rectal medication that they never had before, you need to have a skill check completed on that to be able to perform that task. And then when you get renewed the next year, you would want that as one of the skills to be reviewed. So the RN trainer should be asking you, what skills are you doing? When I do renewals, I cover a number of basics, and then I'll ask what other skills people might be doing, and then we'll review those as well.
I've got a question. You said that when an individual has their meds administered to them, you said that there's updating every year.
The med certification is,
The med cert is updated. Who updates that? The SSA or?
I understand your question. I misunderstood at the beginning.
Okay.
The family delegation form has to be updated annually. So every year you have to ask the SA for a new family delegation form, and you just update that every year.
So every year I have to ask for that.
Yeah.
And the
Thank
Med
you.
Med 1 certification, once you're certified, it's up to us to keep track of when it expires.
Correct.
Just like your CPR and all that other stuff, you're supposed to be keeping an eye on when it does expire.
Okay, so I need to contact the SSA and ask for that family delegation form.
Yeah.
Okay. And what kind of information is on that form?
So that family delegation form is if you are going to be delegating to a provider.
Well, I give meds to my son.
So, right. So on the form, it just says that you're going to be giving the medications. And then you would just document, this is your son, your son is a nice guy, he takes his meds at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 p.m. in oral meds, he takes eye medications, that's what you would document.
Right, so I administer his meds, but, okay. Okay.
I think that's all I got. Anybody else? Anybody from the room have any questions?
Well, yeah, you got some questions on here. I don't know. If an individual Oh, if an individual carries an EpiPen and is self-med and is unable to administer the EpiPen themselves during an emergency, should this be on an IST and a MAR?
EpiPen is covered underneath your CPR. So,
Okay, as first aid.
and first aid. So I wouldn't suspect that it would have to be on a MAR. That does
Yeah, I was gonna say, Cindy, that's the standalone training that's gonna be, there's separate guidelines for that, which is a separate training. So if it's not included in your CPR and first aid, there is a separate training on the DODD website, and that has to be taught by somebody who is med certified or a licensed nurse.
I know me as a trainer for CPR, I have a trainer.
Yeah.
That I show everybody how to use the trainer.
Yeah.
So,
So it's covered, and I believe in the standalone training, it does say that we have to document it, right, on a MAR?
I don't think it's not on an MAR, there's a separate,
Wouldn't that be a UI?
sample documentation sheet in there, but it's not an MAR.
Okay.
That would just be a UI anyways, right? An unusual incident.
If you have to administer EpiPen?
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Maybe. Can you repeat the answer for number one? Oh, one, if my IP is a family member that lives outside the home, is she required to complete a MAR? That's the first question.
So if the family member is an IP,
Yeah.
does the person who's asking the question, does she live in the home with the individual?
It says no.
She said no.
Yes, they have to complete a MAR, and they should be med certified.
Okay. Let's see. Number two, are they required to be MA certified? There you said. Yeah. So you said yes, they are. Those were the only questions on mine.
Sounds good to me. That's all I got. I got nothing.
Oh,
I got nothing else.
what time is it? Does anybody know?
I have no idea. I can't see.
Okay, so now going back to the respite
I
worker,
can't do it.
does she need to be certified?
It's almost 7:30.
7:25.
You can
So there you go. That's all
all
the last 45 minutes. I know. I'm being
Does
dumb.
not need to be certified.
Okay.
This is great.
Because you do
This is my
family
new
values.
phone,
Okay, thank you.
but I can't do Facebook on my new phone yet.
It's kind of confusing.
It's complicated.
Does this help or
A
no?
lot of cases.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Does it help create an understanding? You guys are new to
Do you have an
this.
example of a form?
Yeah.
Mar
Let me
form?
go. Let me see if I can grab one. I need a light. I can't see anymore.
On this line on?
Yeah,
Yes,
flip it,
please.
Tyler. Take
Oh, hello. Ooh, Marissa, what do you think?
Good morning, Marissa. And the preacher turned on the air conditioner in here, and he said, "You only have 55 minutes. I'm going to turn back off again."
Okay. So it's 7:30.
Yeah, so there, an hour.
Do you have anything else you want to add, Deb? I think I lost it.
I don't know if he yet, no, and I apologize because it's been a little sketchy. It's difficult for me to actually hear all the conversation. I would have loved to have been able to be there in person, but that's obviously that wasn't possible. So I don't have anything else unless you guys have something for me.
No, I think they're good. I think we're good. I appreciate you, Deb.
Okay, alrighty.
Thank
Thanks. I'm
you.
gonna sign off then.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Let me show you guys. Get out of here.